দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি চ্যানেল 24 এর নিয়মিত আয়োজন মুখোমুখিতে প্রতি পর্বে আমাদের সাথে একজন বিশেষ অতিথি থাকে। আজকে আমরা যার সাথে কথা বলবো সে রোহিঙ্গাদের ন্যায় বিচারের জন্য কাজ করছে, আইসিসি চিফ প্রসিকিউটর Ha-Meem। Welcome to the show, sir. Assalamu alaikum. And this is your second time visiting Bangladesh?
Absolutely.
Right. So what is the mission of this time?
Second time, but not the last time, inshallah.
Yes.
So the mission really was the same as last year. It was to reconnect and engage with the community, to speak to the government. I had wonderful meetings with the Prime Minister, with the Minister for Foreign Affairs, to speak to different members of the Rohingya community, men, women. In particular, we saw children, of course, that are running around the camp. And the team has been working very consistently since last year. So we're trying to move things forward, accelerate action, and to make sure that the promise of justice is delivered. It's not left as a dream that never materializes.
Right. So you've been to camp and you've met people. So are you getting evidence from them, and how is the process? Because it's pretty tough, but it also needed important, right?
Well, the team's been working fantastically hard. The investigation was opened by my predecessor in 2019. There was, of course, COVID for 2 years. I came last year and this year. But since I was last here, there's been a lot of action. The team has been here consistently, 11 long-term missions to the area. They've been engaging with civil society organizations, more than 50 engagements with different organizations in the last year. We've been meeting them in The Hague. Some have been coming for training on crimes against and affecting children, on gender persecution, and I spoke to some just last month. So we've been collecting evidence from around the world and also from here in terms of people's accounts. Our obligation under the statute is to investigate incriminating and exonerating evidence equally. That task continues, and we're trying to find out, clearly there were crimes that were committed. What are the types of crimes that were committed and who's responsible? And that's our obligation, and if we get to that, if that becomes clearer, we will take the appropriate action.
Right, and how's your meeting with Honourable Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister and other dignitaries in Bangladesh?
Well, I think the Prime Minister has a very big heart for the Rohingya community. And she said it when I spoke to her this time, and also, in fact, last time, alluded to the fact that she knew what it felt like. She said the Bangladeshis knew what it felt like.
Yes.
That in 1971, unfortunately, so many members of this community, so many Bangladeshis had to flee in an onslaught of rape and crimes that were being committed in 1971. And they were given refuge, many were given refuge that could survive in India. And the Honourable Prime Minister said that this was her own vivid recollection, that in Bangladesh's hour of need, succor and safety was given by India. How could she close the border and deny safety to children and women and men when she had benefited from it? So I think it was a very good meeting. The cooperation has been excellent. Bangladesh should be very proud. It's one of the only countries in the region. We have Japan, we have South Korea, we have some others, but not India or Pakistan or ASEAN, apart from Cambodia. But you have voluntarily signed the Rome Statute. So the Rome Statute values are Bangladeshi values. And I think Bangladesh, the government, have been very supportive, not only by taking in the Rohingya, but by engaging and supporting their Rome, my office, and fulfilling their Rome Statute obligations. So it was a very productive meeting, and I'm always honoured to meet the Prime Minister and also hear her many wise words, and trying to forge stronger partnerships to move forward this investigation.
And how's the meeting with the Foreign Minister?
Also
and
excellent.
What did you ask for? Did you ask for any help for further to make your things go smoothly? And did you offer any assistance as well?
Yes, I had a very constructive meeting with the Foreign Minister. We discussed a wide range of issues. I will ask many things, but I won't reveal them to you, your viewers. But it was a very constructive meeting, and I think we're in a good trajectory, and the cooperation is good, and I think that should I'll leave it at that.
Okay. So tell us more about how the trial is going, or what is the real update, because some people are worried they may not have justice, or some people are critical, that's obviously, and some are a bit frustrated because they're living in someone else's land, mother's land.
Yeah, I think people are frustrated, and I was very touched. The Rohingya community are very grateful to Bangladesh. I think you have very firm friends in this community that will be friends for life, that are very grateful to God that they're alive, and very grateful to Bangladesh for her hospitality. But I was very moved when quite a few people told me, and I find with a bit of pathos,
Okay.
that we don't want to be a burden on Bangladesh. So these are people that are not here as economic migrants. They're not here to be a burden on Bangladesh. They are people that love Bangladesh, that are grateful for Bangladesh, but want to go home. And they have nowhere to go at the moment. So that's a political issue in terms of the conflict and the division in Myanmar, and the policies that are making it impossible for people to live there safely, because they were kicked out, it seems, and there were a lot of crimes that were targeting the Rohingya. That appears to be clear. So we've been moving forward and gathering evidence, and I want to increase the pace of investigations, and I've done that already by, I brought in fact across the room, your viewers can't see, he's a very senior lawyer from the Gambia, Mr. Essafal. He was the lead counsel to the inquiry of the TRRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of the Gambia. He was a senior prosecutor more than 10, 15 years ago, and he will now lead the Myanmar team, and with the rest of the colleagues that are here, under the superintendence of my deputy prosecutor Nazat Shamim Khan. We're trying to get more resources, because we also don't have enough resources in terms of many situations around the world. But I think we are united with the Rohingya, with the Bangladesh government, and I think your viewers, the big-hearted Bangladeshi people, that we need to make sure we don't just talk a good talk in the comfortable setting that we're in now, but really we realize that as we're talking, people are hungry in these camps, people are missing their home. On Eid al-Adha, and I saw many women wearing the henna, they couldn't go to their grandparents or sometimes their parents to dua on their graves, and this is a very human tragedy, and it's one where the law should not be impotent, and we need to work together to make sure the promise of justice does not evaporate when it leaves our lips, but it is delivered to the people who need it the most.
Right. And what challenges you're facing in terms of working in this particular issue? Is that the evidence? Is that the financial issues? Is the length, or just the other way? It's like the Myanmar is not helping.
Well, Myanmar is not helping. I mean, that much is clear. The government of Myanmar do not allow access. This is a difficulty. I can access Ukraine. I can access the DRC or some other situations. I can't access. That does not make life easier. It's obvious it makes it more difficult. But still, one can't escape justice, and we have to find other ways that we are exploring to make sure we know what the truth is. We can analyze it and then move forward if the evidence so requires us to do. The scale of these crimes, any international case, you have 1.1 or 1.2 million on the border of Kuplong camp near Cox's Bazar. There's a massive amount. There's also hundreds of thousands in other countries of the world, like Indonesia and other countries as well. And you have different types of evidence that may be within Myanmar. So this is not easy, but we knew when I stood for election, this is not an easy job. But we have very good men and women in the office. Yes, we need more resources, it's a problem. You can't have a promise of justice if you don't give us the tools to do the job. And I think this is a big test at this moment. And I have said it very clearly. It's not just the burden or the lack of resource on the ICC. The international community cannot look away from the Rohingya. I was seeing so many children, and they were covered in mud. It had been, the rains had fallen. Some kids, little toddlers, were completely naked. Some children were wearing shorts and playing football and having fun in the mud. That is their football pitch, which is a mud bath effectively. Youth and women. And they want justice.
Yes.
And I think we have to find a way to deliver it. And what was really unacceptable is that these little children that we saw, and the men and the women, the old and the young, they were used until March to 3 meals a day. They're now not even able to have 2 meals a day. And what I was told from the United Nations, from others, that the allotment of money is about 9 taka a day, and they told me 1 egg is 12 taka.
Yeah.
So they can't even afford 1 egg for breakfast, lunch and dinner. How can we justify this? If a little child goes to say, Amma, Abu, where is lunch? Because they're used to lunchtime, and you don't give them lunch.
Yeah.
That child will cry. Who can look that child in the face? So I think this is something where the international community needs to make sure that food is not taken off the plates of children. In Cox's Bazar, taken off the plates of children of the Rohingya and diverted elsewhere. It is symptomatic of a problem, which is that the law should be seen to apply equally. We need to do better in relation to that. The law needs to be viewed as protecting human life equally.
Right.
And we need to do better in relation to that. And of course, Bangladesh needs support, because the international community has to provide some support when a country that is a respected member of the United Nations like Bangladesh, that is fulfilling international obligations that are very difficult, very sincerely, with cost, whether it's the obligations to the Rome Statute that they're discharging, in my view, or their obligations to the UN Charter by giving succor, by giving refuge to people that are fleeing persecution and other crimes. The international community needs to give that support, which isn't, that is going to the plates of children. They deserve that. And I think if we do better in conveying this message, that the World Food Programme has cut its funds because its funding has been cut. The UN has cut its funding for children and for food because their funding is cut. There must be a way of giving money to Bangladesh directly or to these agencies, so at least children like me and you can have 3 meals a day. Even then it wasn't, caviar or mutton, chicken karai or something, meat every day or goat every day. It was simple food, but at least let them have that simple food in whatever quantity, so that children don't start crying that where is my lunch. And I think this is a very human issue, but it's symptomatic of something that I think the world needs to really take note of. The southern hemisphere and the north are equal. The value of human life is equal, and we need to do better in delivering on the promise of that equality, because there is a disparity in treatment, and I think that is causing a chasm to develop that undermines the rule of law.
I really asked you about the challenges. You brought the real scene, what's going on in the field. But I want to know about your challenges, because there are some criticism about how your organization have moved into the Ukraine issue, but not in the case of Rohingyas. I want to know from you, what's your take on that? And also, it's a big issue. You have to move here and there and a lot of financial stuff. So your organization is out of funds, or they need to look at the financial stuff? Did you talk about this issue to Bangladesh? And also, why, or you also say that why you really the Ukraine issue worked out, why this is not working out? Because it's easy to put blame on someone's shoulder, but someone needs to explain it.
Well, I'll do my best. Resources have been an historic problem for the ICC. Last year, even after Ukraine, I advocated with the Assembly of State Parties, that's the group of 123 states that make up the Rome Statute family, for more funding. I didn't get €1 of new money. Only I got up, inflation, but not new money for the new responsibilities. So this is an issue. I've also touched upon in my earlier answer before the break that it's symptomatic of a wider malaise, that, and I talked about the food for children. So this is not dealing with justice, it's dealing with human life. That we're taking, for whatever reason, economic crisis, Ukraine war, other priorities, but the net result is children and old people and women and pregnant women and everybody else that has had 3 meals a day in March can hardly have 2 today. They can't even buy an egg for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Even a hard-boiled egg, you slice it in 3 and see what you're left with. So people are worth more than this. God has given this planet so many resources. We need to find ways of being more equitable in how we give these resources, because it's not about politics or games or epicenters of power. It's about ultimately, do we care? Do we give a damn about children and women and people that, you know, given life to? And we should view as our responsibilities much more acutely. In terms of Ukraine, yes, I moved as quickly as I could. I think it's a good thing. I don't feel embarrassed about it, because we have a country there that, you know, there's an armed conflict underway with a nuclear armed power that is also a permanent member of the council, that has also talked about escalation, hypersonic missiles and nuclear weapons. And if that hell occurs, if that nightmare visits the planet, the ramifications will be huge on everybody. So I think the law should not be absent from where it's needed most. But also there I didn't have resources. I tried to open up a trust fund last year for some secondees and some other resources, not from the regular budget, but from some other resources. And I've spread those to a variety of different situations, not only Ukraine, to all the other situations, in fact, have been given that support. But we have access to Ukraine, so this also helped me move forward much more quickly. I will not move forward to make viewers happy or to make NGOs happy or to make states happy, even victims happy. I will move forward as quickly as I can if I have the evidence. Here we can't access Myanmar. As I said, I've been prosecuted for 2 years. I've been here twice. I've given more resources, and inshallah we will even increase our rate of work, and then we will see where we get to. But I'm also impatient, because I saw last year and I saw yesterday and today these children with their muddy faces, and the beauty of an innocence of children who don't know the hopelessness or the lack of opportunity, are those women with such dignity who've been violated in so many different ways, and yet they believe that the world is better than it is. They believe that justice is for all and they have rights of justice, and they do, because I'm not giving charity. We are giving them their rights, their God-given rights. And I think this is also something Bangladesh should be proud of, that the justice they're giving is Bangladeshi justice, because the Rome Statute values are Bangladesh's values. So this is not something I am importing. It is something that is homegrown in Bangladesh and is part of the DNA of Bangladesh. I go back to what Her Excellency Sheikh Hasina said. She knew that the rapes and the killings and the crimes committed in 1971. So you, your viewers, your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your grandparents of some children, depending on their age, they would have suffered. They've seen it. And what they felt, the terror they felt, the uncertainty they felt, is the same uncertainty that the Rohingya feel. And their pain is just as acute, their blood is as precious. And I think it is really a testament to the Bengali character, hospitality and principle, that you are trying to support this struggle. This is a new struggle under the leadership of Sheikh Hasina, but it's a struggle of all Bangladesh, this new struggle for justice. And I think it's very valuable, and without it I would not be here. We would not have a chance of fighting for justice for the Rohingya.
So what's your next plan and how you move forward from this second visit and first visit? Probably you will summarize, you will look different issues, you note it down, and then you talk to the people. How things will go on?
I think you said it all. So we will continue to investigate. We have to find different streams of evidence. We have to test the evidence. Is it reliable? Is it accurate? Is it being given or twisted because of some political agenda or ulterior motive? If we then filter it, the evidence that is reliable, we analyze it, and we have to then form a view. What does it show? Does it show criminal responsibility? We have a statute, and there are elements like limbs of a body. So we have to make sure all the limbs are in place in order for there to be a body of evidence that allows us to move forward, and that work is continuing, and inshallah it will keep increasing in pace over the next year.
And my last question would be that, yes, international communities are busy with different issues now. We had Rohingya, now we have Ukraine, maybe someday later we may have a new issue. But Rohingyas cannot be forgotten in terms of your work, strengthening you or strengthening government or even or for the egg for the children. So what should international community should do from your point of what would be your request to them?
It's a bigger question than my small mandate,
Okay.
which is simply genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity. But justice is the right of all.
Right.
We've moved a long way since the Holocaust and the Second World War.
Yeah.
The gas chambers and Rwanda and Sierra Leone and all these killing fields of Cambodia. But there's very stark contrasts in wealth, in opportunity, in fairness in different parts of the world. So we need to come to a point as a planet in which we realize, leave even morality aside, self-interest means doing the right thing. Because what we've seen, and I think Ukraine brings it to stark relief, that viewing the law as an a la carte menu, taking dishes you like when you like and leaving the rest when you don't like it,
Right.
it leads to a very unsustainable position that when other parties or other states do the same thing, it creates a discord, it creates a internal weakness that leads to selectivity of the application of international law. And I think we need therefore to get to a position where states, governments, leaders, youth, communities demand out of a much more accurate understanding that doing the right thing, even if it comes at a short-term national cost, even if it comes at a short-term political cost, is necessary if there is to be hope for our next generation. And this is why I think the Ukraine situation, there should have been many others. In fact, there are many others, but because of the stakes involved and the powers involved, I hope and the influence of those powers, this is a wake-up moment when people finally wake up and say, unless we apply the law more consistently, there may not be a tomorrow for our children to solve the problems we have failed to deal with of the past.
Right. Right. That's the exact message I'm looking at. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'll see you next time, hopefully.
Inshallah ta'ala.
Thank
Maybe
you.
at your studio.
Sure, why not?
We will see.
দর্শক, আমরা কথা বলছিলাম যে যত যাই হোক রোহিঙ্গাদের যে বিচার, যা ন্যায্য, তা পেতেই হবে। সেখানে সকলকে এগিয়ে আসতে হবে। ভুলে গেলে চলবে না তাদের প্রয়োজন, এবং সেই সাথে এগিয়ে নিতে হবে অনেক কিছু। তাদের খাবার নিশ্চিত করতে হবে, তাদের অধিকার নিশ্চিত করতে হবে, তাদের মানবাধিকার নিশ্চিত করতে হবে। দেখা হবে মুখোমুখির অন্য কোনো পর্বে অন্য কোনো অতিথির সাথে। তার আগ পর্যন্ত সুস্থ থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন।